Hello and welcome to Scale Stuff. In this week's video, I'm going to be building the Forces of Valour 1/72 scale King Tiger. I've not built a Forces of Valour kit before. A quick look at their website shows that they do a lot of pre-built models. They seem to be trying to have a finger in every pie of model making, so I'm not sure what this kit's going to be like to build. Either way, I'm looking forward to trying out a new manufacturer's kit. Slight warning, the final weather of this kit is missing thanks to corrupted files, so yeah, sorry about that. In the box you get some black and white instructions printed on some very thick paper, rubber band tracks and a figure, the parts to build the tank, and a very basic decal set. A first quick look at the sprues shows that they are fairly detailed for a small scale tank. A lot of bits that have been missing in other kits are included on this one. The box says the plastic this kit is made in matches the German rail colour 7028, so I guess that's aimed at people who don't want to paint it? Like with all kits, there is some seam lines and flash to clean up on this kit. Sadly, I couldn't work out when this kit was tooled. A look on ScaleMate shows it's a retool of a retool, and it has a lineage so complex it might actually be able to claim to be the King of England at some point. As a side note, so many plastic bags in this kit. It seems a bit unnecessary for a kit this size. Anyway, onto the build. First thing to do is the lower hull and wheels. I want to base and pre-paint this area to make painting the wheels easier later on. First thing I'm adding is the inner half of the drive wheels. With that on, I add the innermost wheels. All the innermost wheels on this kit are joined up, which is a nice touch and makes them easy to put on. With those bits on, it's time for some mass cleanup. I'm taking all the wheels off the sprues to give them a base coat of matte black before I paint them in Tamiya yellow. This should make painting them faster and easier, but then again, considering my track record with spray paint, it could also lead to disaster. As always, I'm putting a hole in the ozone layer, off screen and outside to avoid fumigating myself. Well, the spray paint ran out halfway through, but a base coat's still a base coat, even if it's thin. Now it's just a case of adding the wheels to the lower hull. These go on nice and easy, but like with all German World War II tanks, there are far too many for my liking. This is how it's looking with all the wheels on. With the lower hull mostly built, I'm giving this a quick coat of Tamiya XF60 dark yellow. The instructions now want me to add the tracks, but I'm going to ignore that and go on to build the rear of the tank. This area is really simple. Having built a fair few King Tigers, the details are all here on this little tank, but a lot of them are simplified, which is to be expected at this scale. The lower hull's still drying, so I'm going to press on building the upper hull. There's not much to add here. I'm impressed with the details on this tiny tank. A lot of the bits have some fine flash to remove though, and there is a bit of a seam line on the front of the fenders that you will want to clean up. Now the only thing to add to the upper hull is the tow cables. I'm going to leave them off for now as they'll be easier to paint separately. Moving on to the turret of the tank, as you can see, fitting the barrel hinge is a nightmare. This bit uses two polycaps to allow it to move. It suggests putting both polycaps onto the breech and then adding it to the base of the turret. I found with both polycaps on that the fit is too tight, but if you add one on, fit it, and then add the other one, this task is a lot easier. Once that's done though, building the rest of the turret's a piece of cake. The kit's nearly finished now. It's just a case of putting the big bits together. This is how it's looking so far. Big bits together, I'm getting a base coat down of Tamiya XF60 dark yellow. Now I'm going to dry brush the tracks in some gunmetal. A nice touch of this kit is that the instructions tell you the tracks are made of PVC, so don't paint them with acetone based spray paint as they will melt. Adding the tracks is tricky though. The tracks go on with the wider bit facing to the outside. I forgot this detail and had to switch mine round. The tracks provided in this kit are gluable, but the glue doesn't do the best with them under tension. Because of this, I'm putting glue into the fenders and onto the wheels and threading the tracks round so the joint's hidden up in the fender, out of the way where no one will see it. Tracks on, I'm going to leave it on its wheels to dry. Now it's time to paint the camo. First off, I'm going round with some Tamiya red brown. I'm just making up my own camo pattern on this tank, as yeah, I enjoy this approach. As like they say in Forrest Gump, you never know what you're going to get. Next it's time to add the green. I'm trying to be mindful and keep the pattern random, as sometimes it's easy to fall into following parallel to the existing camo. With the green and brown on, this is how it's looking. I'm going to paint this tank in an ambush camo pattern, as it's my favourite scheme. I'm going to add dark yellow dots on the green and brown dots on the dark yellow. I don't know what it is about painting a few hundred tiny dots, but I find it really relaxing. Here it is with all the dots done. With that dry, I cut out all the last hull details before giving them a base coat of black. While I have the black out, I paint all of the little details on the tank that require this colour. After painting the metal details, I move on to painting all of the tool handles on the tank. For this I'm going to be using AK World War I khaki base. detail bits all painted, I add the tow cables and spare tracks to the tank. Off screen, I tidied up all the clips on the tow ropes with whatever colour was on the base tank beneath them. At this stage I'm going to add the decals, so they can get hit with all the other weathering coats that will follow and blend everything together. The decals in this kit are really simple. There are only 3 to put on. The numbers seem to be semi-transparent, and I'm not really happy about that, so I'm taking them off and adding some that I've got spare from a Panzer IV kit. I think these look much better. Sadly, the files for the final weathering stage of this video got corrupted as I was putting them over from the phone to the PC. I spent some time trying to fix these files, but to no avail. So I can't show you the final weathering of this model, but I still have a fair bit to say about this kit, so I still wanted to publish the video. The weathering was pretty much the standard method I do on this channel. An overall light BS dark earth wash, skeleton bone dry brush as a highlight, a less watered down BS dark earth for mud and muck, and a final focused hit using black to get all the panel lines. Sorry chaps. But yeah, this is the finished tank. I'm quite proud of this little Tiger tank. In conclusion, the Forces of Valour 1/72 scale King Tiger is a nice model kit. A few things I liked about the kit are, it's easy to build. However, the shortened track assembly with the linked wheels was a bit of a change of pace for me and threw me a bit at the start. The kit has a lot of details for a small scale model kit. Even if they are simplified, most things are at least represented on this model. When it's all built for a small model, it feels quite heavy, and I think it has a good heavy tank look to it. A few things I didn't like about this kit were the tracks. The gluable tracks were not very gluable. The fact it mentions in the instructions that they are PVC is a nice touch though, as it means you can avoid rattle can spray paints containing acetone, which would melt them. On the subject of PVC parts, the figure in this kit I chose not to add, as being on the same sprue as the tracks, he's bendy, so I left him off, which I think is a shame. And lastly, I wasn't the biggest fan of the decals being semi-transparent. For me this was a bit of a letdown. For some people this will be a nice touch though, as it means you can weather the tank and then add the decals and the shading will show through. But I don't like to do things that way. I would say this kit is not for the absolute beginner, but wouldn't faze anyone who had built a few kits in the past. Costing a very low £6.50 brand new, I'd say the small scale tank model is worth every penny, and now that I've done one Forces of Valour kit, I'll probably try a couple more. Anyway, that's my build and review of the Forces of Valour 1/72 scale King Tiger tank. As always, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you made it this far, consider subscribing so you don't miss out on future content. Until next time though, look after yourselves and have a good one. Goodbye.